In this video, I shall talk about data tables on the OD1 development. So I currently have a project opened on my screen here, the MIS project, and navigating to system developments and clicking on this data model ARD, it shows us the list of all tables currently active on this MIS project. So this is where you would see all the tables that have been added to this project, and clicking on them shows the respective fields that are tied to this particular table. So I'm just going to pick one to show you. Say I pick department. There are four fields under department. If I navigate to the departments, yeah, the department's data table, you would see the four fields that are inside or that we added to this particular department's table. You would see them here, which are the four of them. Optionally, we could also see them here. And going to the database also. So the database of this particular project I am on, um, so it can be found here. So this is the project folder of this particular project I am currently working on, the MIS project. Navigating to engine, navigating to settings, then provisioning. This is where the database that is tied to this project is defined. So in this case, MIS is the database name. I'm going to my PHP my admin and the GUI from my database engine. Navigating to MIS, you will be able to see all the database tables that are tied to this project. So in the case of departments, I'm clicking on structure. Here we would see the departments tables we have tied to it. So I am going to add a new table. So navigating to system development database tables, you can see we have a total of 67 tables added to this project. So I'm just going to create a new one and add fields to it in later videos. So clicking on the add new table pops up a new form one is to fill to add a new database table. So I'm just going to briefly explain the process to eventually creating the table. So coming here, you fill up a table and you save it. Having filled up the table, you then need to add fields to it. As we saw here, we have tables, then we have fields under it. So once we've created the table, we add different fields to the table. Having added the field, then we select the table and we generate a class for the table. I shall show us that in later videos. So having generated the class, I shall show us where it is existing and whatnot. So this video is just going to talk about the creation of the table only. So clicking on the add new record button allows us to add a new record. So this is still loading for some reason. Okay. So I'm just going to add a new table, a free form. So the first field here to add a database table is to input the name of the database table. So in this case, I'm just going to call it MIS test. So this whatever value you put here must follow the normal programming naming convention, or how you would normally come here to create a new table and name it. So here, if we are to create a new database table here, we cannot have characters, we can't have spaces in between. The same applies here. so we can't have spaces, characters, and whatnot. But here, where we have the table label, we could, have spaces, we could have characters, we could have pretty much anything. It's a free text. So this is just I'm going to name it MIS test. So in the case of where I gave the example of the departments table, so whatever displays at the top of the data table is whatever we have inputted here. I'm going to skip this to come down to table package. So table package is where we want to add this data table to. So I'm going to go back to my folder structure. So back to this is my project. Clicking on engine, there is a plugins folder here. So here we currently have about 9 plugins to this project. So here I could define where I want to add this database table I am about creating to. So say for instance I want to add it to WAG2. All I need to do is put NWP WAG2 here. But in the cases where I don't want to add it to anything, because this could be optional. So in the cases where I don't want to add it to anything, I could leave it optional, I could leave it empty. Then this has to be database table selected. So in the event I add my fields and I go ahead to generate class, it is not going to be in any of these plugins. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to tie it to a plugin. So I'm going to tie it to NWP work 2 plugin, which is this guy over here. Then if that is the case, my classification would be plugin table. So in the event I want to create a new plugin entirely, that I want to add a new plugin to the project, I would choose plugin here. Then this would be empty. So at the end where I eventually get to add my fields or add other things, oh sorry, at the end of saving this form and filling it, I would have this as a plugin. Then I can then go ahead to add data tables to this plugin I just created. But in this case where I just want to reuse a plugin I already have, I would have to choose plugin table as the option and specify the plugin I want to add it to. Then once you are satisfied with what you have filled, you can then go ahead and save. So we have a new table, database table here, but the table is just empty. No fields has been added to the table. It hasn't been generated yet. So it is pretty much just a draft at this point.